All right, hello everybody. Sorry for the late start. That is completely my fault. We are live with the Breakers versus the Avians matchup. And once again, joined by Vexer. How's it going?
Hey, hello, man. Welcome, everyone. And we're going to be reviewing this matchup. It's a very interesting one. Two factions that excel at the range game. Breakers are kind of the poster faction for range game. That's their theme, pretty much, like just being good at a range game. And the Avens are a very dynamic faction that is able has a very solid game because of the stewards, which are able to attack range, but the dice pretty much hit as if it was melee almost, right? Because of the worthy ability. And well, they have some of the best mobility in the game. So it's a very interesting matchup.
Yeah, and so like I think I wanted to just like chat a little bit about this matchup before we go into the games because it's just a bit scattered trying to talk about the strategy while we do it, especially since for this matchup the strategy is potentially so diverse. Like a lot of matchups, it's just like the one faction's gonna go in the midfield and the other one's on defense, or like just something where it's just like it's gonna be that dynamic every single time. The Avians is about as polar and opposite. Avians versus Breakers is about as polar opposite from that as you can get, and that's because the Avians are so versatile of a faction that they have the movement advantage, so they can go aggro if they want, they can take the midfield if they want, or they can just totally stay back and just stay on the defense, stay in their back two rows. Because, like you said, the stewards are so good at a range game, they can do that. So, like the Avians can do a viable playstyle, and all three of those are totally viable. So, from faction to faction, it's like, well, which approach do you want to take? And the other faction always needs to respond to what Ava wants to do. So it's really seems kind of complicated as to what the dynamics are here, how the Avians want to play, how the Breakers respond, and I definitely don't feel like I have a full grasp of it, but we'll try to go through it as much as you can, as much as we can.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. Is there anything you want to say
Absolutely, yeah.
about general
Yeah,
strategy?
so that
Yeah.
for the breakers, it's usually a straightforward approach. Like they want to try to keep things ranged as much as possible, right? Like they want to stay all the way to the back and be able to shoot you without you being able to shoot them back. Because after you attack, you're going to be using the push ability from the wind mages to hide whoever was attacking, and you have the wind archers, which are able to have the extended range. So it relies on those things and also on the deceivers, which are a key piece of this, right? Like usually most factions are going to be trying to be coming at the breakers because like melee is their main weakness. Like once you're close and they cannot really take advantage of that, like those events that benefit the range game, then it's easy to kill them. They have very low health. So the deceivers are a key piece for this, right? Like they're able to prevent units from just walking by. They're able to clog gates very effectively. But the breakers also have a lot of ways of assassinating the summoner, right? Like they have the wind archers, like the extended mobility and the extended shooting range, allow you to just go through the flanks and hit really hard if you get some good rolls. The events allow you to move blockers. Takula's ability allow you to capture and then use that same creature to attack the summoner when they're using it as a blocker. So they have a ton of ways of sneaking in traffic. Like Blast can even send their own unit across the enemy lines to deal the last damage that you need to do. So it's hard to survive. Like when you're low on life against the breakers, it's really hard to make it out of life. So they have all those tools, but they want to start in the range game. The Avens, they're very dynamic because they can play the range game with those very solid units that they have. The melee units can be used to send them out flying because they have like the extra move of flying that you want to be giving your units. Hit something, and then with their event that gather the flock, I believe, like then you can just bring them back to safety, right? So they have all those tricks to play a range game that against many factions they really struggle because Once you get close to them, they can just fly to the other side of the board. But they also have this very aggressive way of playing in which they can just be coming at you really fast because of the flying. They can go over your gates, over your units that you're trying to put in front of them. And then the usual approach is that you're gonna do that when you at least want to have a gate. You plant a gate on the enemy territory that protects Ava in one of the flanks. The other ones, like you're gonna be positioning your units to cover those summoning spots for the gates. You want to be well. You can start surrounding the enemy summoner that way. And when they kill those units, they're going to be removing those summoning spots, like still leaving open those summoning spots so that you can keep bringing more ravens down, which will have flying because they're going to be in that 2 space range of Ava. And then you just keep going in that way, right? Like keep trying to lock them in so they cannot escape. And even if they kill the units, like you're going to have the summoning spots. So unless it is a faction that has a way of covering those summoning spots after killing them, like the Fallen Kingdom, for example, like you kill them with a courier and then you're covering that spot with another zombie. But the ones that don't have that, then you can just keep summoning, right? And then you just overwhelm them that way. Many times the Avens can do both. Like they start with a range game, just feeling the feel, like a trading, looking for the right moment to then just fly over and go for the kill. Especially because the event that they have, Sky Assault, allows you to do multiple attacks through the same flank. So many times you just need one single flank open on the enemy summoner, and then you can throw in your 3 attacks for the turn to them to just finish them off. So really, just getting them around 5 gives you very good odds of winning the game if you manage to just go across enemy lines.
Yeah, so that's one way they can play.
Yeah. Yeah, and they can mix it up, right? Like the range game, like they can start that way. If it's a faction that it's hard to overwhelm, then you can really just keep playing range. Or there are some factions that you really want to be going at them as fast as possible so that they cannot establish like their gates and things like that. Like the Savannah Elves is one of those cases, right? Usually the Avens, like their best shot at winning is just in the first few turns. If you manage to cross the field and just get close to Abua, it's hard for them to survive that. So they can switch gears really quick, and that's what
Yeah.
makes them so
Yeah,
powerful.
and sometimes that can like really the switching gears is the strategy in itself of like I'm going to start in the back and be on the defense, and because I have stewards in such good ranged game, the enemy's going to lose on econ if they don't advance. So they have to advance, but then they advance, they expose themselves by doing that. Suddenly I can use my melee units and my divers, and maybe even if I can just fly a unit behind the enemy summoner and trap them, that can be game. So a lot of summoners, if you get a unit behind them as the avians and you have enough magic in hand to just keep pumping out another unit, like you said, that's an easy assassination. So very versatile with that. And so yeah, so I think that that pretty much covers it for general for me. Like I would think like we'll just keep in mind those different strategies that the avians can have, and then just see what we try to implement different ones in our games, and we'll just see how they play out in the different games. And so we'll keep in mind that one of the strategies is just like full aggro, just kind of rushing in there, trying to place forward gates to really get the most out of your melee units and whatnot. One of them is sort of more taking the midfield, and one of them is staying as far back as you possibly can. And
Mhm.
then maybe getting the jump later or something. Anything that's
All right,
seem like a good place to get started? Awesome.
yeah, let's jump into the game.
All right, sweet. So these
Uh,
first two games will be the official games for the count. So we shall see how we do here. See who comes out on top. And yeah, so we'll go through this one more slowly, more piece by piece. Um,
yeah, let's get going. So this one, the opening move, it's super tough always in this matchup because like the Mind Witch, if you send it in front of the steward, like she's gonna get blown up really quickly. And It's likely that you're only going to be dealing 2 damage. So in here, this was an interesting move, right? The very original one, at least. You didn't even want to give me that unit in there.
Yeah, this this surprised me. I think about openings a lot, but it's just like I just don't want to. If I send this Mind Witch over here, then I also need to like expose it and another unit, and I'm gonna be doing like 3 damage to that steward. It just doesn't feel worth it to send a unit here. This is like where the avians want to be. Ava's right there, and if I stay back, it's gonna force you to probably. I mean, maybe you'll move up here, but I kind of doubt it. I'll probably force the action to be over here, just more what I want, and I'm okay taking the 1 damage. But yeah, that's sort of unorthodox. But the play where not committing to the board because it's not a good spot for you, that's less unorthodox.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're right. Like the Avens want you to be exactly in that spot, right? Like they want to set up that shooting position with the steward, the Neva behind. So yeah, that's
Yeah, and I'll just showcase here through both mind controls and Gildoon. I'm dropping all 3 of those. Mind control is nice to have as a threat at the end. Though of course you're gonna have to play around it either way if I start moving up with Takulu. But um, that tool is gone.
yeah, that's a tough draw there. Like getting both of them in your opening hand. And in
Yeah.
here, yeah, I was like very confused. Like, okay, I mean, I don't want to just fly all the way in. So we've seen one of the things here is that it's really hard to do that strategy in which you try to overwhelm them because the deceivers neutralize that. Like if you try to go and plant forward gates, the deceivers are just going to go in and clog them very quick. So in this game, I was trying to have a more conservative approach of playing the range game around the midfield, as that's where you're able to get a decent coverage and then have the possibility of sending the melee units that I summon to support that when they get the deceivers there. The airy gate, I put it all the way to the back because those archers are really good at blowing those up. And I wanted to make sure that I would keep that one. Like I didn't want in the next turn just an archer to come here and just blow it up, as that was my only gate, I believe, at that point. So we can keep it.
Yeah, sorry, there was just
Yeah.
a message
Yeah.
in chat. No one clicked the link for whatever that bot just sent. Uh-oh, I need to moderate that. Sorry. Keep going here. So yeah, so I'm
So
go ahead.
yeah, no, that's you can mention it. Like that was an interesting play there because of the mimic.
Oh, yes. Though I didn't even no, I just mimicked a wind mage
Oh
though.
no! Oh yeah, you didn't do it for that one. I thought
I
that's
mean, that's, and I really like part of it. I don't like. I really don't feel like I feel like I need to play this matchup like 20 more times before I fully get it. But there's a lot of really good mimic targets we start to see of like mimicking worthy is really good, mimicking strong is really good. Sometimes you can get them both. If they play battle song, you get blitz, which also you can
Mhm.
mimic. So like mind witches can really go hard here. I sort of opted to just keep them safe. You really don't want your mind witches to die. Set mind witches and wind archers. If you can get multiple turns out of them, that's great, and you have all the tools that you want to be able to do that.
Yeah. And here we see one of the weaknesses of the breakers are factions with high health. Like they even struggle to bring down a 5 health unit. But this is a type of way you want to try to do it, in which you leave a single column there. So it makes it really hard for them to attack. And then the extra damage is that that steward can't really move or he would die. So that's the way that you usually want to be attacking with them in that area.
Yep. And so now it's sort of awkward. Like you don't have a great way to get in there, and you're only attacking the deceiver. No way you're hitting that mind witch. But gathering song
Yeah.
gets rid of that pretty well.
So the gathering song, yeah, I use it there to try to like, get it out of that position of being in touch with the deceiver, which just pretty much nullifies always a lot of damage. And those deceivers, I mean, they take a lot of a lot of the damage output like in there. I'm just really hoping to be able to bring it down with all my attacks in that turn.
Yeah, it's they do a lot, and you're setting up a gate in the midfield.
Yes, exactly. So in here, I didn't want to do the. Ooh, that was painful. Like even between those, like those deceivers sometimes can be so hard to bring down, but I didn't want to put gates on the other side. Like we have tested the Avon Rush before, and we saw that it was always easily clogged by a deceiver. So that's why in here I even sent the Sentinel to. Well, actually, I'm not even sure if I kept the Sentinel there. Let's see. You can keep playing. Yeah, I didn't leave him there. But, those gates, many times you're using them just to protect Ava. That's the bottom line. And it put pressure on the breakers so that now they have to worry about those summoning spots and start thinking about covering them. In here, this was like a perfect spot for the the archer to be used. Like, didn't really keep that sentinel safe by putting it there, I guess.
yeah.
And then
So
you got a good position here with that.
yeah, I'll note at the end of this turn. No, it's not this turn, but I end up discarding Kalal. And we played one practice game before this, and I had gotten Kalal out, and it had felt good, and I think Kalal's good. So playing this Wind Archer, I'm like suddenly it's like crap. I'm just like not gonna get the magic for Kalal ever. So I don't know. There's maybe like this is one of the turns where I was thinking back, like maybe if I could have found a play that didn't involve the Wind Archer, I could have discarded it, and maybe I could have got to Kalal, and that could have helped me a lot. Because I've already discarded Gildoon, and so suddenly my two like playable champs are in the bin, which just like really makes it feel like I don't have an economic game plan. Because at the end of the game, like you're gonna accumulate some magic. You want to have a champ. I feel like back in the master set days, there were just I'd play a lot of games of only commons, no champs. But these days, even the master set factions, it feels like you're pretty much always playing one champ. That's the right thing to do. Anyway, so that's a tangent, but
Mhm.
the play seemed fine tactics wise, and I'm protecting the archer and whatnot. But as far as like long term strategy, I've lost both my good champs, and that doesn't feel good.
Yeah, yeah, and that's one of those things that is really at the end, just the luck of the draw. Like you want to see them around the middle of the game, and after seeing a lot of events, which are the ones that you usually can discard in this one. In this case, like you saw then just a whole hand of units, right? That you were going to be playing. Not a lot of stuff to discard. Like you can't be discarding your wind mages, your deceivers. So yeah, that was an unfortunate draw at that point. So let's see what I did here. So then still trying to. Well, the wind mages are usually also a premium target in this matchup. Like pretty much all the units are a threat. Like I mean, the deceivers you just have to get, like go after them. It's not that they're a threat, but it's too risky not doing that. Like you can get so many like missed rolls because of that. And then without that deceiver here, I was able to get rid of one of the wind mages. They only have four, so then it's always like once they're out of those, like you can forget about those shenanigans of the like multiple attacks on the same flank and then put a deceiver in front. So, and this is where they start struggling, right? Like when those melee units just start easily picking off the range units. But in here, one of the other things that makes it hard to rush them is that the Kulu can just turn those melee units to the other side. So it makes it hard, really. Like those sentinels are a premium target to be stolen.
Yeah, absolutely. But so yeah, so this
Yeah.
is not a fun turn for me because like I have this wind archer over on the side, and wind archers are really only good if they never die, and if they never die, they're really good. But you want to be getting at least 2 turns of value out of them, hopefully more than that. And so I really need to prioritize protecting this wind archer, and just like the more things you have to do in a turn. So I want to get good dice. I also want to protect this wind archer. Um, Goodness knows what I ended up doing. Let's see.
Mhm.
So I place a gate. Yeah, so this is the only way I find to protect that, I was thinking about like using Hypnotic Call to like maybe, yeah, to maybe capture it or something, but there just wasn't a play to do that and also like totally keep the Wind Archer safe, just because this gate is so much pressure, because anything coming out of any of these spots would just get to me.
Mhm.
And kill that Wind Archer, and that's a trade you'll make, just a 1 cost diver to try to get a 2 for 2 to kill a Wind Archer. I mean, if it misses, that's good for me, but that's something you're willing to go for. At the worst case scenario, you just lost the diver. Best case scenario, you obliterate a Wind Archer. So I gotta gotta play around that. I guess here
Mhm.
you could still send the Sage in, but I was willing to take that risk, I
Yeah, now
guess.
the Sage in there, like it's hard for that one to kill her, right? It's going to be like a 40% chance or so. So it's
Yeah,
not the type of unit you send. Like that's what the divers are for. Like those guys are expendable. Like you just send them out to try to like finish off an archer. So in here, as you see, like I'm still sticking to my side and like getting those summoning spots to try to have some of those divers with the airy gate gives me some flexibility of getting that damage, which is important in their fail, like trying to finish off, well, being able to shoot with the stewards. But in here, I noticed that it's even tough to well, it's not a done deal. Like even if you get this, like because they can copy your abilities, and like those mind witches can be really dangerous when you're around this area. Like even though your units have 5 health, when they're shooting like for 4 with worthy, then like they can still be bringing them down and they only
yeah,
paid 1 for them. So
yeah,
it's a dangerous situation in here with relying on the stewards for this range game, but you also cannot really just rush them because of all the deceivers that they're going to be putting in. So it's not an easy matchup for the
yeah,
Avens for sure. Like they have that advantage with the health, but let's see what happens. Let's keep it rolling.
yeah,
So in here, they just keep clogging all those spots, right? Like that's the thing when you are even though I'm still on my side, all of that is within the range of those cloggings. And the thing there is that if well, you're able to keep shooting from the back, and if I'm a little bit farther behind, I'm not even able to shoot you. Like I'm not even in range. So in
might
here,
even do
things
like
don't
a
look
full
that great.
3 damage this turn if I'm lucky.
Yeah, exactly.
Nope, just 2. They had to do the push as well.
Yeah. So in there, the deceiver protecting the archer. The thing with the deceivers is they're so important that I never like to leave them in a position in which they can get like a good range shot to them. I prefer always just to send them just to be like hogging the other units. So in
Yeah,
there, getting 0, that's steward. Let's see the other one.
yeah, that's
I think at this
fair.
point
I
you
think
need
that, yeah. So sorry to go back. You know, says I think the reason I didn't want to just send them forward is because like there was like no good ways for me to get attacks that turn, because I guess for some reason I couldn't line them up, because yeah, like ideally there would be a deceiver like here and here, but I couldn't like get good attacks while doing that, or at least I didn't find it.
to.
Anyway, that's why I did that. If you want to go back to
Yeah,
this turn.
yeah.
um
Oh, good. So you can keep it going. So in there, I send like, well, at least you were doing a good job of removing targets for the 1 damage of the dive. I sent one of the divers I had in hand, try to like clear out that deceiver, block your front gate spot. And then the blast. This one's, I mean, when you do a blast in this situation, I don't feel that bad because, I mean, I paid 1 magic for the unit, you paid 1 magic for the blast. So it feels like no real advantage on your end.
yeah, yeah, it's like that's like the best case scenario. Blast just like kills a unit, does a bunch of extra damage, and I still like didn't even really, wasn't sure if I wanted to play it. I only did it because of I the way my attacks worked out this turn. I didn't
Mhm.
have like, because Takulu could just attack that unit and kill it, but I had 3 other attacks. That's the reason I used the blast. But if Takulu could have just attacked that unit, I just wouldn't have bothered to use the blast. Yep, and
Yeah,
this
so
time,
you were
and
focusing on keeping the archer alive in that case, which you definitely always want to like keep them alive as much as possible. Like those guys are the gals are expensive, so if you only get one attack out of them and then they kill them, like you're always losing in those trades. Unless you're going for the assassination and you're just going at the summoner. So in here I was trying to maintain the line as long as I could with those. Still thought like, you know what, I'm gonna try to clog that spot, shift the game a little bit to the other side, be far away from Tukulu. But still those deceivers, like that's why it's so good, like being able to just clog the
Yeah.
opponent with them and not giving them those type of range shots that then they're just easy. Because right now look at that, like how many shots have I taken at that one? Like 5, I
Yeah.
think.
This is like the
And
third turn it's been alive? Yeah, like wow.
yeah, and that happens often. Like sometimes, yeah, they do kill them, like they zero specials and it happens, but many times this happens and it can be devastating to the offensive. So yeah, so still right now sticking to this strategy, but I'm like struggling a little bit with that archer all the way to the back, being able to be effective and be protected. And those deceivers just keep coming. But in here, like what I'm looking at is at the card advantage. So I see how like I have like 4 more cards than you, have more magic. So with all these trades, I'm able to be, because I have so much health, it takes you so many more attacks to take my units out. So it starts accumulating, and the Avens are able to take the econ game. Like if things keep just going farther
Yeah.
ahead and just taking longer, the Avens are going to usually be the ones that the econ is going to be favoring them.
Yeah. Yeah, and just to pause for a second on that, like I think a lot of that just has to do with the fact that stewards just kind of beat everything. Like when I have this deceiver up in your grill, you can't kill it, but in general, it's going to be a steward attacking for like 3 on one of my units. If it's a Mind Witch, Archer, or Wind Mage, that's bad because it's probably going to one-shot them. And if it's a Deceiver, well, if the Deceiver is adjacent to the Steward, that's great. But a lot of times when you set up in the midfield, that your Steward is like going to hit the real 3 range dice on a Deceiver, or 3 range dice with Worthy on a Deceiver, might even one-shot at that. So the Stewards
Mhm.
kind of trade well with pretty much everything in this deck, unless I have clogged you with Deceivers and they're adjacent. So that's the, yeah, like the that's why it feels like I'm always gonna be I'm always gonna be losing on econ because
Mhm.
just the stewards trade too well.
Exactly. Yeah, the only thing that neutralizes them is mind witches, copying them and then having Takulu in touch, because
Mm-hmm.
that way you can be like killing them with 2 attacks easily. Like it's easy to bring them down instead of the 3, 4 that many times takes you with the other units. So in here, well, I had some melee units accumulating in my hand. I wanted to use them and I wanted to try to put more pressure. So I didn't have any gates on this side. I thought about putting maybe a gate that is a little bit more forward to be able to put some pressure on that archer that had been really being a problem. So this time I was protecting that spot with a sentinel so that I
Yep.
could then send something flying in and try to get rid of the archer that had just kept
Yep.
being a nuisance there.
Yep. And that gives me fits because like I can protect this archer, but if I do, like I'm not gonna get good attacks, so it's just rough. And so at this point, I'm also noticing the card advantage, and so I think it's here where I'm like, okay, I need to change tax. Like if we just keep trading this midfield, it's not gonna work. So I believe Takulu moves up here. Let's see. Oh, and I get the stewards. Yeah, so I have the worthy with the stewards. Takulu moves up, and this is great because I know that you're like you're always thinking about what cards I've played, what cards I haven't. So you're gonna play around mind control.
Mhm.
Like if I bring Takulu in here, she has a lot of health. You're gonna be more worried about clearing my units. So I'm just like, yeah, I could just maybe chill here for a while and make you make more awkward plays because you're playing around a card that I discarded turn 1. um,
Yeah. And
and
in here, the 4, you got it. Like that's you can see the power there. Like my 2 magic unit got blown up. And here, that was
that was a
the
pretty big
classic
miss.
painful, like 1 damage with Takulu. Those are the ones that hurt the most.
Yeah.
And the other one that, well, happens often. But then here, that was a solid play. Like you manage to cover. And that's why this thing of being aggressive on the front gate gets neutralized many times by the breakers, because like once they kill your thing, they have ways of then occupying that summoning spot. So you're not able to do the new unit with flying that's going to start killing the archers on the back. So in here, you neutralize there perfectly, like that attempt of taking this side. And then my divers, you were negating me the 1 damage. I just had to summon it on the back to try to bring down those mind witches, which the thing with them is that they are easy to kill, right? So many times you just get like one good shot with them. So in here, I just if I got rid of them, I was gonna be able to just seal the game. So then the diver just gonna kill her, and then that's it. No, she survives. Okay, one more turn.
Yeah, and that's why. Yeah, it's so risky for me to like have exposed those mind witch. I mean, risk. It sucks to expose your mind witches like that. You want to have them behind things, but I just didn't have the targets. I wanted to just change and try to try a different strategy. Try to get in your face, make you afraid. See
Well,
if
at
that
that point, you didn't had much of a choice, right? Like you were out
that's
of deceivers,
yeah
and those were like the ones that you had
yeah
left, and that you could actually do that big turn with Worthy. That
yeah.
was like getting rid of the steward was huge there.
Yeah. Well, so I
Um,
mean, like the choice that I could have made, which would have been like to like at least stack the mind witches or something, and like keep Takulu over here and like try to have the mind witches in back by the end of that. But that felt like a losing play, too. I felt like I could get more by getting in your face and clogging your gate, exactly as you said. Yep. And here's this gate. So like a lot of times you don't really want to like have your summoner exposed on open on 3 sides against the avians. That's kind of just a recipe for getting trapped, but Takulu has mind control. So
mm,
and so that's
yeah,
both
and if
threatening
you're
and a way to get out of the trap.
exactly.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and you're at a comfortable like 12 lives still, and in here on my end, like with this big advantage that now I have on the econ, like what I'm thinking is like, hey, like it's not worth risking like going in, right? I know like mind control can turn games, and life is not that much with Ava. So I'm really just thinking about trying to just seal the game. Like I know these are some of your last units, right? Like if I kill these ones, you're out of them. In there, I mean, it's a partial thing because the Kulu can just start stealing your units. So that's the thing that it's important to try to like ping her every now and then, get her into a amount of life that is not that comfortable like this one. Ooh, that one really hurt because
Yeah,
that Mind Witch kept surviving everything.
you had to keep that. Oh no, that one's dead.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Gathering Song is really good. One of like most underrated events in the game. It is insane. Like that, you just got that free attack with that Sentinel. Sentinel
Yeah.
cannot be touched.
So in here with 6 magic, I was sure that I was gonna be seeing the other dude, Gul'dun, and then that's why I put the steward there. It was like, okay, 4 melee, yeah, go ahead. Like you can take my steward with your 4 melee, or like if you try
Yep.
to come on the side, like it's good, right? I didn't want the sentinel to be left exposed to that bit, like double common attack or Gul'dun. So and I was surprised. So then when you summoned that, I was like, who's that guy? Like what from which deck is this? Like this is not custom decks. And then it was like, oh no, he's a breakers champion.
Yeah, I sent you a custom link just to trick you. Yep, and he makes a really funny. Let's listen to that again. Actually, he makes a really funny sound. Yeah, like what? Ever heard that sound before? And yeah, I feel more and more like the more I play Summoner Wars, like, and I don't know if it has something to do with the current meta. I'm not gonna analyze it, but like, it just feels like most decks want to summon champions. It feels like breakers want to get out a champion, at least one champion in a game, even though they're so expensive. I felt like because I ditched the other two, I gotta go Growlithe. And I mean, that's the way my econ is going, obviously, when I'm sitting on 6 magic and 3 cards in hand. So well, let's give it our best shot. Gwalik is good at getting assassination plays. That's obviously like impossible from this position. So he's just gonna be a 6 magic 3/8. That's not value, but I mean it's the best I got. So I
Yeah.
really wanted him to be Kalal, but he isn't. Very sad. but it's a big body, and I'm liking this board position. Anyway, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not a terrible position here. So I think there goes my last diver, even though I know, like, well, those are going to be just turned at this point of the game. But I needed to get rid of that Mind Witch. She's really a problem there. So
Yeah.
just going for that one, and then going for the Wind Mage. I think it's the last one. And after this shot, I thought, like, like, this is it. Like, I think this game is sealed. That's what I thought at that point.
Yep. It's a fair thing to think.
Oh, so there was one more, yeah, one more Mind Witch, but really not getting strong, which is, so this is the thing, right? Like, most of your units will have strong, and then it's going to be easy to be copying that. So, yeah, you went for the magic here for that archer, getting that shot. You almost got the kill there, so at least I was going to be able to take the Mind Witch.
Yeah, and I'm also looking at this board and being like, I mean, Gwalek has a lot of health, but it's not going to be
Barely.
enough.
Oh, wait, no, I didn't kill it. Oh, man, that was painful.
Skill issue is
The
the
three
word you're
melee
looking
there,
for.
I had blocked that out, and the other one also failed. But then that gate, I was able to just clear that one up to be able to have the threat there that Takulu is even like less safe now.
Yep.
But that Mind Witch, those are really persistent. So you came forward, and I was like, oh boy,
I
here comes
yeah, and
the
I
that was a good approach there.
let me just, well, do you think so? Like, because I'll spoil it. Next turn, or I actually don't remember. I'm pretty sure next turn you do a lot of damage to Gwalek because, of course, if he's here, it's going to be pretty easy to. For some reason, I didn't think, like, I don't know, like Gwalek is kind of my big body. I don't know. Like, I don't really want to just expose him immediately. Like, maybe I could have just like gone like here and like trying to keep the Mind Witch safe or something. I don't really know if I needed to expose Gwalek from two sides over there.
Well, but any damage that Waller takes is a damage that you're not taking. So
Yeah,
it's
that's fair. But if I move
it's
back with
actually
Cthulhu
a
as
good
well,
move like there, because now you're thinking like your only way to win is just start stealing all the my units.
that's fair. Yeah.
So, and at this point I almost fell for that. I was gonna be hitting him hard, and then I thought, like, wait, like he can actually just like start stealing all my stuff and just turn the game around. So
Is
I
that
thought, like, hey, it's not even worth going
That's
after
right. So
Waller.
yeah, your first play that you outlined was you did a bunch of damage to Gwalek, and then you changed it to this.
Exactly. Yeah, I was gonna go after him, but then I was like, wait, no, like I'm actually gonna lose the game if I just go to Waller, because he's irrelevant, right? Like he's just three range. Like I'm not worried about getting surrounded, getting assassinated. So
Yeah.
I thought, like, you know what? I need to start hitting Takulu, because otherwise she's
Mind
just gonna take
capture.
all my units. And I
Mind
didn't
capture is
really add that to
really
the plan.
strong in the late game. Can win you
Exactly.
games. Yeah.
So in here, I try to go harder. Like the steward didn't get the message about going hard and just playing around. Finally, managed to take those mind witches at the end, which were really concerning me with those like 4 attack with strong, and then the melee did the job. So at least now I was like putting Takulu in an uncomfortable position, right? But they have a lot of tricks here, and I only had 3 cards left at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, and but I don't know, like just look at how powerful mind capture is here. I'm just thinking, well, I'm gonna double attack on the Sentinel, and then you can only attack on one side. Next turn I capture that steward as well. Like I was pretty shocked here that like you went it to Kulu, and I'm still like, huh, maybe I just win this if I can capture both of these units. Um
Hmm.
I did not
Yeah, yeah,
I
like.
did not expect, and honestly I still like, yeah.
Exactly. So that 4-4 there just turned the game, right? And then getting the capture there. And this shows you, like, with the breakers, you can never really get too overconfident there. Like, they can just turn the game around in a second. And it doesn't matter, like, they have 0 cards. Like, they're just going to keep taking your units. So here, this was a mistake there. So one of them was, like, the diver. I wasn't sure in here, like, should I go after Takulu, send her to 3? But then, like, it doesn't matter if I send her to 3 if I don't have a way of closing the last few damages. So I was like, those archers can hit really hard. Like it's better if I get rid of it, because at this point I know like there won't be any more units coming back, and those guys are a big problem. So I'm not 100% sure if that was like the best approach. Like I knew that I probably only had one hit with that diver, so having Tukulu at 3, I'm not sure how relevant that would have been. I had only, well, I had one more steward in hand,
Uh,
and at this point I messed up. Like when I had 3 cards, I needed the third magic to be able to play a steward and the diver next turn. And my final card in the deck was a gate. And my other card was a champion. That was like a few turns ago. And I thought, I was like, yeah, after hitting you all the way to 6, I thought this game is going to be over like in the next turn or so. So no point in just keeping the champ. I'll just have the magic to play both. So I was forgetting how brutal like the breakers can be in the end game, and that you always want to like keep a champion for the end game or keep something like that. Like don't discard aggressively or anything like that, because once they start stealing your creatures, you're going to be getting a lot of extra magic. So in here, well, I thought if this guy gets some hits, like just goes to 3 now. You were only with Wallard, like exposing one flank, was able to get the kill. So at that point, I thought like, okay, maybe this is done here. But with the thing with Takulu is that, well, she can just keep getting more and more units. So you got the 3/3 here, which, well, you just needed 2. So you got the extra unit, which was expected. Wallard just trying to do his thing. Failing is this is expected too. Then in here, like bringing that Sage to that safety spot was probably not the best idea, because now I couldn't really make him that relevant. And I couldn't do strong on the steward on the other side, so just getting the expected 2 here to cool this at 1. So at this point, I feel just comfortable, because I know with Ava, like they cannot really just avoid you from hitting them from any angle. So,
yep.
but like I got exactly the amount that I needed just before running out of creatures. You're gonna take the last one, but then at 1 life, you can't really stop this. So then that's how the game just closes out.
Yep, super close. I mean, just seeing how much Takulu can do in the end game just by herself. Like I feel like so much was going badly that game.
Yeah.
And then just you can really do a lot with those mind captures.
Then we just close it. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's how it
oh,
is. Wait, what
wait.
happened? What's
Oh
this?
my goodness. What the heck? Well, what now?
So you notice how I didn't even move the other unit, because I was just like already standing up, and like it was late. So we were like, okay, good. Wait, what? So that just happened.
It
And
was like midnight for me too. I was like, all right, time to go to bed. This is awesome. So now what? Now
nice.
what do we do?
And
Let's
now what
see.
happens? Like, and there,
Yeah, and
I
I'm also
guess.
not. So we both like all of a sudden we're playing chess. We both have no cards in hand, no cards in deck. We can totally like you can completely predict like everything the opponent can do aside from dice. Um, so where do I go? I'm pretty sure I find there's only one spot Takulu can go and be safe. Is this Okay, what I did not think of is I just didn't think the sage was relevant. I don't know why I didn't think of it, but Gwalart could have gone here and shot that sage. I don't know. Keep
Oh,
that in
that's
mind.
true.
It
Yeah.
might have been relevant. But two on Ava. I don't know. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you.
Without that sage, yeah, I wouldn't have been able to.
But yeah.
Well,
So what are you thinking
well,
here? Tell me about this chess weirdness.
yeah,
What's
because
going
the
on?
sage there, it's likely that he would have survived. But let's see if you had another shot that. Oh yeah, there was, I think. Well, let's see. So then in here, yeah, like you just had to always position Takulu in a way that flying couldn't get her.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me about like your because we don't get to talk about like these like weird chess end games you get into sometimes. It really doesn't happen very often to me. Like 1 in 20 or 30 games. Like so, what's going in your head? What's going through your head right now? Like, what is your strategy? What are you thinking about?
So in here, I know I have to take care of that steward, right? Like I need to leave you with 2 units, and I want to be in a position in which if you attack me with Wallark, I'm gonna have the Sage in a position in which I can kill Tukulu. That was the idea, I think, at this point. So because with the Steward, like an extra unit, it's just gonna make a massive difference here.
All right.
So let's see what I did here. So position the Sage in such a way that barely, barely get the kill there.
And you attack the gate. You attack your own gate. So why'd you do that?
Probably because you could use it as a way to block, to protect
Yep.
yourself, right? To cover one more flank.
Yep, and that's exactly
So
the first play I saw was Takulu goes up, Gwalar goes to the side, shoot Ava, that's great. Ava's now one hit away from dead. But then I was about to do that, and then I saw, oh, Ava just, if I did that, Ava just moves here, kills the gate, and Sage kills Takulu, and that's pretty likely to
mhm,
happen. So
exactly
I
that
guess I can't do
opens.
that play.
Yeah, it opens that play there. Like a gate that is at 1 or 2 life isn't like the best blocker at that point. So
Yep.
yeah, let's see what you did here.
So
So
I need to block with Gwalark as well. Take down the gate, I guess, so I can hopefully shoot your Sage eventually. Yeah, so what what's your thinking here?
so here's that. Well, I can't reach Tukulu in any way. I don't want to get into a shooting battle with Wallard because it's pointless, right? I'm at 5 life. Like I can only take like one more ranged attack probably. So I just want to position myself in a way that I'm protected and that I'm able to threaten multiple angles. So that you're not able to just keep running away. I need the Sage on the way, like back there, so that if you want to go for the Sage, like you need to split Wallark from Tukulu, and that will probably open me like some angles to go after her in such a way that if you attack me back, you won't be able to do 2 attacks on the same turn. So right now I'm focusing on not giving you 2 attacks on the same turn, right? Like only a single flank if I ever expose myself, so that I'm left in a position that then you cannot avoid Ava circling to Kulu for the final attack.
Yep, yep.
So let's see what I did here. So then,
Oh, sorry, it's not working. There we
yeah.
go.
So here, like no attack that is worthwhile. Then need the Sage also to be outside of the range.
Yep,
The range
because
of a dual attack so that you cannot just turn it. But then I'm threatening all of that. Well, if you move to Kulu from there, but if you go with Wallark for the Sage, I can just take the left side and just get really close to Tukulu so that it's hard then
yep.
to escape.
Yep, there's no if Gwalark goes for the Sage, there's nowhere Takulu can go where she's safe. Wait, is that true? Yeah, no, because if Gwalark, I mean, if Takulu stayed there, then the Sage can shoot Takulu, and then if Takulu moved to any other spot, Ava
Hmm.
can get her.
Exactly.
So I guess I just stalled. At this point, I'm starting
Mhm.
to be like, oh goodness, I hope I don't get pincered. It's kind of looking like that, but it's no other play. Guess I'll do this.
So in here, I had to take that spot and not closer because otherwise Wallark would have been able to go and take the back of Ava. So we thought flying was irrelevant on that champion, but at this point it was causing me a bit of a headache. Like I had to be
Yeah,
avoiding that position of the double attack. I didn't even want to give you the 5/6 at this point.
yeah.
And then the Sage just positioning it there so that Takulu cannot move closer and you cannot get 2 attacks on it. And then the same principle of if Gwalark goes after the Sage, it leaves that opening for me to fly in.
Yep, and I at this point like I wish also like the Kulu could just be out of harm's way and then I could just have Gwalark chase down Ava and trade or something, but nope, you've pretty much checkmated me here. There's nowhere I can go and be safe with Takulu. There's
Mhm.
literally no is
Well, in
there
here, I
have
knew you were gonna get like one shot at the Sage. Like if you manage to
Yeah.
to kill it.
Could I have done
Yeah, like if
that?
you do that thing you're drawing right now there.
Why didn't I do
Um,
that?
oh, actually, yeah, that would've been.
Ugh. At this point, this game is like we that we you missed the killing blow at like 12, and then we didn't. And we finished this game by mid at like 1 o'clock. This took like an extra hour for us to do
Yeah.
these turns. Was that just better than what I did? It totally was. I thought I was trapped. I could have just done this.
Yeah, because you could have done that attack and
For, s-
that would have left me
for some
in a
reason, I
position in
thought
which maybe I cannot really expose I cannot, yeah, actually that would have been like a killer play, like doing that. I
I
cannot fly in,
yeah.
otherwise like you can attack me twice at that point, and the sage doesn't really get any shot there. So yeah, oof, that would have been the
Well,
killer play.
well, yeah. For some reason, I thought that you had pincered me here. Like I thought that Ava could get to Kulu no matter where I went. Clearly, clearly a skill issue there. So I'm just like, well, let's go for the 3-on-3. If I get the 3-on-3, then we probably win. Um, even then, I'm not sure, but
No, even there, like even if you get the 3-3, let's see what would have happened. Like if I just fly all the way in, I think you would have gotten
I would have gone for it. Yeah, so I would have.
the 5 out of 6.
Yeah, so which is at least the 5 out of the 6 is a 44% chance, or like something really close to that. So like, but I didn't want to have to go for the 5 out of 6 if I could avoid it. But at this point, I'm feeling like I'm about to get trapped, so I absolutely would go for the 44% chance to win, if you gave it to me. So that's at least better. So if I get the 3-on-3, then I'm given the liberty of getting to go for 5 out of 6. But we miss
Yeah.
it. So.
And you probably just thought like, hey, now a 0 out of 2 is coming. Like this is just how this thing. And in here, I didn't even move one forward because you could have attacked me twice there.
Oh yeah,
But the
yeah.
sage did its job. But if that one failed, like actually a 0 out of 2, because I was blocking your way with Takulu, I wouldn't have allowed you to escape there. Well, actually, you could have used Wallark to. Where was Takulu there?
Hulu was here.
Oh yeah. So in here, the what I was thinking at that point was that Wallark was not able to go all the way to cover Takulu.
Yeah.
So even if I failed with the Sage, I could fly in with Ava and just get the shot there. And
Oh,
at that point, there was no way to protect that side because Wallark had to fly to the Sage.
yeah.
So yeah. So yeah, that
Yeah.
was a crazy ending there. Like sometimes, yeah, those crazy things happen.
Yeah.
At that point, I was like with 7 magic, like, oh, why did I discard Cyruk? Like this would have been over
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah. And I mean, and playing through end games like that, I mean, it's very determined. It's a different type of game where you really want to be thinking through like every possible move and like inactivity damage. And you start thinking about too, sometimes with situations like that, it's like, okay, how much health does every person have on their gate? Like if I just sit back here and just attack your gate for the rest of the game and then you do the same, like who wins? Like sometimes those games are determined by whoever has less health on their gate is gonna win. But what's interesting and about like showing this in particular is Ava plays a very interesting sort of chess end game because of flight. Flight is gives you a
Mhm.
lot of possibilities and a lot more control over it than your opponent. So I think she's probably particularly good at those chess end games. So it's interesting to show off.
Yeah, yeah, and we had so many gates that I was like, oh no, if we start shooting the gates, this is going to be 2 more hours. So
Yeah,
luckily, flight,
yeah.
like there were other options because we had flight.
Yeah, I was like, oh, surely this only be a bit, and you were like, no, this is like every turn is gonna be like this because we started taking like 5 minute turns again, and it was like, oh, we both just wanted to go to bed. It was so funny,
Yeah,
but it's interesting that we got to show that. One game,
all
an
right,
hour
let's take a
in,
look at the.
one game in. All right, yeah. Game
Yeah,
so
let's take a look.
game one goes to Vexer. Let's take a look at game two. Should I just press play on this one? You think?
Yeah, first place. So in here, we'll see. So I go first here. I didn't want to do the same thing of like just not doing anything. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna roll some good dice. That's better than the inactivity damage and manage to get like both good attacks. And here the archer, I thought like if he only has like the unit is not going to be in range of worthy, so unless he has a sage and steward in hand, I would
Yeah.
be able to only risk it with a 2 out of 2, which is like 40% chance. So I thought the odds are in my favor, so I went for the archer there.
Yeah, it's a risky play.
Just a
It's
risky play.
not like I really hate that play because if an archer dies first turn, it sucks. But yeah, that's a good point though. Like it's not guaranteed that I'm gonna have the answer to that. So
Yeah,
I guess
it's like all the opening plays for Breaker Swords, they are so bad just in this one. And well, even though you didn't play the Sage, like you had the +1/+1, so I'm not sure if that was like a good trade for me, like there with the Archer. But I don't think I had any other
but
like decent stuff
here's where
also.
I realize the height of my folly. You can copy Blitz. You can copy my battle song. And I'm like, oh crap, I didn't realize that.
But of course, only
Doesn't
one
matter.
out of that was so painful in there. And the funny thing is that that ended up maybe being good. So yeah, like I was like, oh come on, that's 4 dice on Ava. That's gonna be key.
And
So that
I like to hang
gave you the
back as the yeah, sorry, were you gonna finish?
well, it's interesting because I think not getting hit for 4 there gave you the confidence to do the usual like even rush. Like
Yeah.
you clog my spot, you are protected, like right? Like you start putting that pressure, kill the both units. So
Yeah.
seems like a solid, very aggressive
Yeah.
approach there, like a
It's
solid play, right?
yeah, well, I'm so confident. But I'll also note that like I prefer to edge on the like defensive side of Ava. Like it's always so tempting to run in and place and like place gates and whatnot. But I'm thinking at least here, I go in, I place a gate, and I can retreat if I want to. Like, and then there's just a gate blocking your forward gate that's like really annoying for you to deal with, and then I can just snipe at your units while you have to like break that gate slowly. So I'm thinking like I always do this where I'm like I'm gonna be defensive and then it's just like oh there's the opportunity, let me just jump in, which is also what Ava's very good at, just like it's just like oh I'm gonna do this one play style, but then oh you've given me up the opportunity, I'm gonna switch on a dime. But yep, I'm feeling great coming in here. I even placed this other gate. So this is maybe what I was actually this is like maybe what I was unhappiest about most is placing that area gate there because that actually commits me to playing the melee game. And I know playing the melee game might be totally viable. Maybe I should just go for a trap and whatnot. But it is really hard to like win the trap games with a. Well, it's not hard, but like it's not easy. Your units are so expensive to actually trap a summoner. Like I only have 4 magic. You have to be able to like continuously occupy spots. Trapping Takulu in particular is really hard. So like right after this I was like I should have put this gate here because that means that if I want to retreat I can. With this gate here it's sort of like it's just so easy for you to like take it out with the wind archer that you are have a better option for range than I do. So this like commits me into the melee. But anyway, let's see what you do. That was
Yeah,
a big rant.
that's true. I mean, you could have put it behind Ava, but then the breakers were like you walked into the wrong neighborhood,
Yeah.
sister with Ava, and
Oh
that
snap.
archer. So I was telling you,
But
like
wind
that
archers
archer
never
can.
hit, right? Ah damn. Ah
That's when
damn.
they do. So in there, like the diver betrays her, the archer takes the flanks, and now she's at 5, just out of a sudden. Like you feel confident with the breakers, and then they happen. So,
And all of a
well, she can
sudden,
do.
yeah. And all of a sudden, like just any sort of blast or hypnotic call or just something can kill me. But at least I'm like defended on all my sides. So you need to have those blast or hypnotic calls. Oh, okay. Well,
Oh,
that's
that
kind
was
of
so
bad.
funny. Yeah,
Oh, what's
that's
that?
awesome.
What's that card? I didn't. Is that a deck building card? I don't actually know that one. What does that one say? I
Like, do
don't.
they do that? Like, what does that
I
do?
don't really. Oh yeah, they do have that card in their deck. Oh. Oh, okay. That's unfortunate. I always forget about mind control. uh,
And that miss on the archer was insane. Was I mean the payback for the 1/4 that I got, but even
yeah.
without the miss on the archer, taking the 2 worthy units, I could have put 7 dice on her. and just go because the steward on her back, then Takulu on the side, the other steward, and
Uh-huh.
I think I had both. Let me see. I think I had both of them in my hand. So at that point, yeah, I had both controls. So that's why I was so happy to send Takulu forward
I see.
because,
Yeah.
like, even if I was assuming that Archer was gonna die. So with 7, I would have probably sent her to 1 life or something like that. But I was gonna be right next to her, and I also had a hypnotic call in my hand. So I was holding it because of this. I was like envisioning this when you came forward, that I was gonna need to like pull one of your units to me to control it and then hit you for that final damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that's GG. And so let's look at that again real quick. So this is the play that I did to advance. I went from here to here, and I was feeling pretty good here. I'm like, there's a unit like blocking this gate spot, so you can't take it. There's a unit blocking Ava's side. Like it feels super just like risky if I just like moved in with Ava without units blocking her side. But like, I was like, okay, like that felt like a pretty safe spot to be. Nope. Nope. And I think so what's the lesson here? Rushing the breakers, maybe not a great idea.
Hmm. Exactly. Yeah, like it just doesn't work out well. Like even when they don't get the assassination. So one of the games in which we try to test this theory, I went with the Avens, but I didn't went in like so aggressively, and I was still keeping Ava around the fourth line of her side. And I was trading, like the game went in for a few turns. Every time I planted a gate on the fourth row of the breakers, it would get clogged by the deceivers. And they were copying all the like worthy, all the strike thing that in the last game that we saw, I was actually like tempted a few times to play it. But then I was like, like the attack back is gonna be even worse. I just ended up discarding it. I was like, yeah, this is not worth it. Like it's gonna hurt more on the way back. So and at the end in that game, there's something similar happened. Like eventually, they found like they were taking my melee units that I sent forward because I tried doing that thing in which you just send them flying in and then like hit Tukulu, right? So I got the Sentinels hitting Tukulu, sending her to 7 or something. But then like Tukulu would just take control of them. And it was just another unit now clogging the sides of Tukulu. So I couldn't keep sending units. Now it was all clogged up there. And the deceivers didn't allow me to keep moving forward. So yeah, the lesson is it's too hard to surround her. Like maybe there's going to be some situation in which someone manages it because they didn't have deceivers, they didn't have gates or whatever, but it's not worth it. Like in most cases, like you're just going to lose. That's the easiest
Yeah.
way for the Avens to lose, in which they're going to get stopped. They're going to get some deceivers getting maximum advantage, and they'll eventually manage to get some hits on Ava with like mind control turns
Yeah.
while pushing your units or doing those type of things and little by little be able to get at her.
Yeah. Yeah, and assassinating Takulu at a melee range just really doesn't work. If she's at full health, like mind control and mind capture, it's just like it's really just not gonna work to try to like get the drop on her. Like 'cause with a lot of factions, you could just like put a unit. If I like put a unit behind her and like surrounded her, like she just a lot of factions would just be dead. But Takulu can mind capture those, mind control them. She can kill them and then push something else in there. So yeah, not easy. That's and then that's not to say that assassinations from like a distance with sky assault plays couldn't necessarily work or chipping down the
Mhm.
summoner. But yeah, full health to Kulu, just rushing her with melee units. Not gonna do it.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so let's take a
Yeah.
look. Let's do the card analysis, and then at the end, if we have a
Okay.
bit of time, we can
Yes.
play
Sounds
one
good.
game in which we try to test that theory. Like, can the Avens defeat the Breakers in their own game? Like just playing completely ranged game with the Stewards, and at a distance in which you cannot easily copy them. Like the witches won't be able to be copying the effect, and we try to try that out. But let's go do the card analysis, and then we have time. We can just quickly look at that game, which was an interesting test.
Yep. Sounds good. see. All right. You want to start with the avians?
Yeah, let's start with those. All right, so Gathering Song, it's a great event on this matchup. You don't want to leave the melee units on the other side for them to capture. It's pretty easy for them to capture the divers. Sometimes they'll just take the magic, but with the sentinels, many times it's worth keeping them, right? So a 3 melee unit that will eventually maybe get a hit, it's a bit of a pain. So Gathering Song allows you to avoid that, right? Like you can go, if you kill an archer of Mind Witch and then bring it back, that's devastating for the breakers. So you usually want to use it that way. The other one is to get some units away from the deceivers. Like if the deceivers are hogging your units, you can use these to remove them and then be able to get the range shot, which is what allows you to get rid of them fast, especially with the wardens. Now, what's the name? Is it the wardens? I'm forgetting. Steward.
Yeah,
The steward.
yeah.
I'm forgetting the name. Dude, the name of the cards is amazing how much I play, and I don't know the name of almost any card. Like I just keep forgetting them. I only remember the facts. All right.
Yes,
So
yes.
the other ones, Battle Song. So Battle Song, I ended up just thinking that it's just a like automatic almost discard if I'm within a distance that they can copy the effect, which is most of the time like you're gonna be within that distance. If you're in that range situation, then yeah, it's perfect. Like if you manage to just blow up some deceivers, that's how you want it. But if there's any gate from the breakers that is within range, one witch can copy it, and then the other witch just copy it out of that one. So it's not ideal. So I prefer, I think, just getting the magic is better. As many units you can get in the board, it's going to be really hard for the breakers to chew through them with all the ranged attack, which is one of the main weaknesses they have. Then the Sky Assault, I mean, it's viable when they have Takulu in such a spot that you've been able to get a few hits on her, and now you have her at 7 or 6. And like it's always viable, right? Like when you get that triple attack that you're going for a 60, 70, 80% shot kill. But I just noticed that it's hard to find those situations in this matchup because Takulu won't be able to be that much in the mix if you're keeping your distance, right? Like if you rush forward, maybe like she'll have to come forward and then she's gonna steal some stuff or do some things. But otherwise, it's easy that for her to just have to be stuck in the back because she doesn't have the strongest range game just to be exchanging, and they won't be exposing it that way just to like shoot something back there, like shoot a steward. Like it's not worth it. So she's just probably gonna be protected most of the time. And if she's at 13 life, it's not even worth like doing a triple attack on her and Sky Assault, right? Like it doesn't matter if you used to hit her for 6, if you're spending your 3 attacks and then you don't have a way of dealing the last 6 or 7. And because you won't be able to rush forward and just surround her or do something like that in most board states, then I find myself like thinking of discarding at least the first one. And if I don't see that the situation for the second one is going to be available, I just get the second one for Magic 2 in this matchup. Finally, the Irrigate. This one is really good here to try to get that damage from the divers. The thing is, it's a little bit harder to use because the archers are very good at bringing them down in a single hit. So in one of the games, that game in which I tried putting it all the way to the back to at least guarantee that I had a presence on that side. In some other ones, once you already have some 5 gates around the middle of the board, you could just maybe plant it in a way in which, I mean, they could blow it up, but the thing is they might take a couple attacks on it, and they have to deal with so many of your units that they'll probably like won't be able to focus that much on that one. So that's how you're going to be using the Irrigate. The Irrigate, if possible, like put it on the back, like behind the line of your units. But sometimes like you can just put it in the front. The 5 gates, those are the ones that you want to be spreading around the field in the middle, right? Because that makes it really hard for the breakers to effectively defend their high value units like the archers. And it's even going to be hard for them to be like they're going to clog the first one maybe with a deceiver, maybe the second one, but once you have a third one, it's hard for them to keep up. So just don't put them too close. Like I found the sweet spot to be your fourth row, and maybe just their fourth row if you're going like changing sides and going to a side in which they almost have no presence. So it's not easy for them to just clog it with a single movement of a deceiver. So you want to be sprinkling those gates around. I wouldn't be discarding too many 5 gates in this matchup, just because having them around the middle opens you all those possibilities of using your melee units to be finishing off those wind mages, those archers, etc. Right, which is uh, where you want to be. You don't want to be in that spot in which they're just shooting from the back and you have no way of reaching them.
Yep,
Then the
yep.
champions, they are hard to use in this matchup because you pretty much want to play like every single one of your common units, just because the main weakness is going through so much health. So if you're going to play all your units, it's hard to play a champ. I would keep one of the champs, like the last one that I see in my hand, just for that end game scenario. This matchup tends to go to the end game a lot, because as Ava, you're going to be playing it safe. Takul is going to be playing it safe. It's just going to be trades back and forth. So keep one of the champions for the end game, so that when you have to end up killing all your units that betrayed you, you can use all that magic to finish the game with one of the champions. Other than that, like the ones that you get early, they'll probably have to be discarded. Cyruk is usually the best one, just because of all the things you can copy. Wrath is just too expensive for this one, probably. And I mean, Guildford, I guess he could move the deceivers, but like if it's the last card that I'm keeping, yeah, like I would play it. But if I see it first, I wouldn't go for him instead of just playing like 2 more sentinels, 2 more stewards. Because the thing is, the breakers, the longer the game goes, the more likely is that they're going to be getting some horrible whiffs. That's just the nature of the ranged dice, and those are the ones that just start turning the game against them. And that's why the econ tends to just go the Avens way, like almost I think all the time in all the games I've seen of this one. They'll end up just having more cards, more resources at the end, because all the trades will eventually end up favoring them. They'll have more consistent dice and all that stuff. So the champs might not be that significant until the end game. Finally, the units. So the Sage is a key unit here, as in most of the Avens game, because those are the ones that give you some devastating attacks. Like the Stewards are only really like a serious danger once they are next to Ava and next to a Sage. So you're going to be using both the Stewards for that like range, like those range exchanges. It's ideal to try to keep them outside of the witch copy range, but sometimes like that's not possible if they have some forward gates. And you cannot really be, it's hard to be all the way to the back, because just to be able to hit them, like you need to be around the third row, sometimes even fourth row. So they're going to be trading. They're extremely useful in this matchup, just because the deceivers don't make your melee unit so good. So for sure, try to play all of them. Like I wouldn't discard any of them, if I see them early. They are the key unit in this matchup, probably. So
Yeah.
the Sage is just a support unit, very useful too. Like there's really no reason probably to discard this guys. Like you get more value just supporting all your other units to get the +1. And the melee units, so these ones are the ones that maybe you end up discarding a sentinel at some point if you need the magic, maybe even 2 sentinels. It's hard to get that much value out of them if the deceivers are already out. If they are not out, that's when these guys are perfect. Like you just want them to fly there, kill a witch, kill an archer. But many times, like when the board has been developed, or many times you just have to send them to the side of a deceiver, right? Like we saw in one of these games, just to try to maximize the chances of killing them in one turn with a side attack and then the steward attacking him. So it's okay to use them that way. The divers, really try to position yourself in a way in which you can get that 1 damage. It makes a big difference. Like if you don't get that 1 damage, then this unit really, you're not getting its worth for the 1 magic, as it will rarely survive once. The main advantage of this one is the dive in ability, right? That you're able to pop them on the forward and then send them back. But in this matchup, that type of play is not that significant because once you send them, like sometimes you can get that one attack on the units, archers or the mind witches to finish them off. But because of the deceivers are going to be all over the place, it's hard to maneuver with them. So they won't be as effective. But the airy gate might allow you to get that damage, like because the deceiver is going to be clogging the front of your gates. But if it's an airy gate, like you can still get the one damage on them. And on a deceiver, that makes a big difference. Like every damage counts on those guys, which are so hard to take down. So yeah,
Yeah.
that covers this one. So any thoughts? Anything you want to add?
Nope, I think that makes sense. Yeah. Stewards are the star.
Yeah. All right. So the breakers. So the breakers are gonna try to do their usual like range game, and if the Avens get too aggressive, the breakers can also try to just go in and phase them. Right? It's not like because you have ways of if anything surrounds you, just taking it, and then the position is covered, like you won't get surrounded again. And you have all those tricks to move stuff to be able to hit Ava. So if they come at you, if you have the cards, like there's no reason to be like running away from them. It's better just to be sending the deceivers to clog those positions from their formation, and then just pushing their units to attack Ava. If Ava goes to 5, you saw that then like she's within range of a mind control. So mind control is this card in which if you see that the opponent is being aggressive, you really want to make sure that you have one around. And even like discarding aggressively at the beginning, if you see that they just go forward, many players just rush you immediately. Like that's what they do. So when that happens, like if you have some of the other events that you know are more like situational and are not that important, like I would just discard aggressively at first to have the mind control and start getting the pieces for that. Otherwise, like maybe you'll have to discard the first. If you see that they're being conservative and just staying back and just playing the range game, I would discard the first one and just keep the second one for the end game. So, or whenever they might be a point in which they feel it's a good time to come forward, and that many times allows you to close the game out. The last is an event that at one magic, I don't think it's something that gives you economic advantage. Most of the time, you're going to be getting 2, 3, or 4 damage. So that's for me not worth the one magic because you also have to expose the Kulu. You need to line up your other units. So best case, you're killing one unit, right? And you're going to be killing one sage or one diver. So you're not really getting like massive advantage. Like sometimes if you don't have another better way of killing them, like it's okay to do it. But if you can just attack it with Takulu instead of doing that, maybe just consider that one instead of wasting that one magic and then just discard it because there's a reason. We'll see that with the champions. So I would really just discard it for magic in this matchup. Hypnotic call. It's really that card that if you see that the game is going to be won because they're being very aggressive, in which you'll get the chance to assassinate Ava. And this card is great many times, just not because of the +1 of taking the unit, just because you're moving the thing that they were hoping they were going to be blocking with. So you're just moving it. Many times you combo these with mind control, in which they are going to be playing around mind control, right? So they won't try to like give you some unit within range, but then this messes up their equation. You're going to move the unit within your range, then copy the unit, and then move that unit to the back or something like that to do like multiple attacks. So unless you find yourself in that situation, I would rather just discard it for magic because you're going to be needing that magic for the champions. Finally, Tempest. Perplexing Tempest is auto discard in this matchup, I would say. You're not really stopping them because they have flying. So instead of 3, they'll move for 2. That means that it's very likely that they'll be able to do a normal turn. Right? Like they'll still be able to position themselves for a successful turn in which they do something. So I think it's just a waste of a one magic if you use it in this matchup. I would just discard it automatically. I mean, there's always that like few, like
Yeah.
1%, 2% scenario where you see that if you play it, they won't be able to attack anything. Like that's how you get value out of this card. Like making sure that they have a turn in which they just can't do anything, like maybe attack a gate, like not to be able to reach any of your units. But in this matchup, I don't think that's going to happen. Like flying just gives them enough flexibility to still be able to do something relevant. So I would rather take the magic, and this is as close as it gets to just an auto discard in this matchup.
Yep,
So
yep.
the champion. So Gul'dun is always a solid champ. You usually want to play him and be very careful with him, like play him in a safe spot, protected by gates on the sides, or pretty much just exposing one flank, right? Like because he's really good, doesn't have a lot of health. Uh, it's just because his ability is so strong, so it's understandable. But you want to make sure they don't kill him in one turn or two turns, right? Like if this guy lives for multiple turns, that's where the breakers really turn the games around. And like the inconsistent dice, it doesn't matter because you're going to be attacking for 6 with the same unit or for 8, or ranged dice like when they do the double attack. So it can just win you the game. So if you find yourself in the position that you can play him, say, you're going to try to shape the board to play him safely, and you have the magic, you have the card. This is one of the potential champions you can play. He's especially good if the Avens are being very aggressive or playing close to the midfield, like fourth row, your row, my row, like they're moving around there, and there's a lot of gates and deceivers. Like you can still play him in that situation because it's going to be hard for them to take him down. But if they're playing a more range game, sticking to their side, it's harder to play him in a way in which he's not going to get killed immediately. So if that is the case, maybe you just discard him. And the reason why you do that is that you're only going to have the magic for either him or Kalal. So Kalal is extremely good in this matchup. Like one of the reasons why I was saying that you can aggressively like just discard Blast and some of the other events is that you want to make sure that you have the magic for Kalal. She's so good that I wouldn't even discard her if she's in my opening hand. I would just like wait for the moment because I'm discarding aggressively to be able to play her. She allows you to be blowing up those stewards pretty fast, like in a single turn between her attack and like a 3 attack, or the triple attack that you'll do on the same column, which is usually at least going to be 7, right? Like 4, the Wind Mage 2, and the Deceiver 1. So you have decent chances of killing the stewards and leaving a Deceiver in front of them. So she's really good. And if the Avens are trying to play the range game, that's going to be really hard for them if Kalal is around. And even if they try to come at you, like she will still be dangerous. Just make sure that she's always the back attacker and protect her as much as possible, right? Like if you don't give them an opening, it's going to be a pain for them to get around the game and turn it around if Kalal is always just attacking and using her ability. You can push your units 3 spaces, that's huge. So she's the key champion for this matchup. And I believe like this matchup leans to the Avens, right? I think it's a 60-40 to the Avens. So Kalal is what allows you to close that gap and bring it closer to the breakers.
Yep.
Okay, so that's all the champions. So let's go to the
Uh-huh. Yep, the 2 champions
let's
of
go
the
to the
breakers.
exactly all the 2 champions from the breaks. Let's go to the units. Okay, the deceivers, you want to play all of them. There's no reason to discard the deceiver. They're going to be the ones buying you the time for them to not rush you, because if you're out of deceivers, there's nothing stopping them from being more aggressive with the melee units, or trying to fly around or send stuff and then bring it back with the event. But if the deceivers are around, it just makes it a pain for them to be able to just be flying all over the place. So they are the key unit in this
This
matchup.
is not real at this
Ideally,
point.
just to clog the front gate spots, those are great. The other one is if they are not putting gates close to you, just using them in the traditional way, in which you do the triple attack or double attack in a flank, like you attack with a witch, with a wind mage, and then you put the deceiver in front. Try to do it in such a way that the deceiver ends up hogging one of their units, right? So that then if they want to move with that unit, they're going to be getting at least the extra damage. So, but that's the usual way you use deceivers for the breakers. The Mind Witch is usually good in most matchups. Sometimes, like even when they don't have any single unit that you can copy and get like a good effect, she's still good because you're just going to be copying push. But in this one, like there's a lot of stuff to copy, right? Like strong, even if you're not within range of the sage, the units that are next to the sage have strong because it gives it to the unit. So you just need to copy whatever is touching a sage and you get the strong ability. So that means that you can get strong and you can get worthy at the same time. And that means she's attacking for 4 with worthy, and that's just a devastating attack. You want to try to use the witches that way as much as possible. Sometimes you'll still be using her with push just to do the triple attack on the same flank and protect with a deceiver. It's hard to keep them alive for long because like they will usually prioritize them and they have low health. But this can be the unit that turns the game around if you get to always be copying strong and worthy. The Wind Mage is as good as usual just because of all the things that it allows you to do with push. So you'll be playing all of them. When you don't have more deceivers or you don't have a deceiver on that side of the field, the Wind Mage is the one that you can be putting in front so that the Mind Witch survives. In some matchups, like it's the other way around, like you keep the Wind Mages very protected. But in this matchup, because even if they kill your Wind Mages, you still have good things to be copying with the Mind Witches. Sometimes you just put them around because they're able to survive one attack. Some like they're more likely to be able to survive one attack at one life compared to the Mind Witch. So you put them in front, and if you're really making sure you play Kalal, it's not going to be your only units that push stuff. So sometimes it's okay to put them in the front to keep the Mind Witches from getting killed. Finally, the archers. This is the unit that you might just play a couple of them because it's hard to play all of them if you're also going for Kalal. Or play all your like 4 witches and 4 deceivers and 4 wind mages if you try to play all of these ones. So you'll probably end up having to discard 1 or 2 of them. I still like them in like having a couple of them. Just try to make sure that you're playing them in a position in which you can save them afterwards, right? Like you can protect them, put something in front, move them to the side, or something like that. It's sometimes you might be forced to just send them out to try to like blow something up. But if you do that, make sure that at least like they'll have to do some bad positioning to get at the archer or something to that matter, right? In which they would need like they are on the left side and you summon the archer on the right side. So if they want to attack with worthy, like it's too far, or they would need to move all their stuff, and there's some stuff stuck with a deceiver, like that type of scenario in which at least they wouldn't just need to like summon a new unit and attack and kill it, right? But ideally, you want to try to like get multiple attacks. Otherwise, you're losing on the econ on this one. Or for the assassination, like it's okay to send them out to just do 1 attack and die if that attack is on Ava, right? Like when you see that the game is going in that direction and they are close by and you're going to go at them and start planting forward gates, then nothing wrong with just flanking with them, attacking. Like if you get 3 or 4, that's devastating for Ava. Like she doesn't have a lot of life, so it's easy to get her into that range in which the assassination trick just closes the game.
Yep.
All right. So yeah, so that covers the breakers. Any thoughts, Ben? Anything you want to add?
Yeah, no, not really. I'd want to do some closing thoughts about like the positionality of this matchup, but if you have time, I'd want to watch the third game before that. But how are you doing on time?
Yeah, I think yeah, we can watch it. Let's keep it rolling and we can just talk over it
Yeah,
and just to
sounds
show. So this was specifically like the experiment was like Ben was gonna try to like play the range game, like outrange the breakers. So I said madness
yes.
when he said that, and it said like, okay, we can try it. And because I mean,
Vexer was like,
let's see,
fine,
let's
I'll
see how
play
that
this
goes.
matchup one more time if you pay me. Um, yeah, and real quick before we start it, I forgot to update our calculator. So this was just an extra game, or our scorekeeper. I had a lead on Vexer. I had a 2-4 lead. No longer. It's now 4-4. Guess we'll have to figure out what we do if we tie the next one, but I don't mean to let that happen. So, crap. What's the matchup? What's next week's matchup?
Oh,
That's going to be everything.
it's Obsidian Dwarves versus Eternal
Oh
Kingdom.
my goodness, that's going to be so explosive. Stealing
Uh,
Volcanic Blast as Eternal Council. Anyway, so that'll be fun. Yeah, so tune in next week for the conclusion of that. And then yeah, also before we go into this game, Vexer mentioned there's the one practice game that we did, which was similar to the second game we showed where uh avians went more aggressive, except this practice game, like breakers just didn't immediately die. It ended up being a value game, but the avians were still behind going aggressive. If you want to see that, I will link both the game link and a video of of myself watching that game in the description. So that's if you want to see it, but we're not covering that because it's kind of the same, yeah, same general principle of it. That doesn't seem like it works for Ava to just totally rush as fast as you can towards the breakers. So yeah, so that's that's that. And yeah, so like Vexer said, so like at the beginning of this, I was like, okay, there's the three spots where Ava could be on the battlefield. We can go super far forward, we can do the midfield, or we can stay back. So yeah, so I wanted to test. We tried super far forward, doesn't work. Seems like Ava going to midfield works pretty well. It's kind of where you want to be, but I'm like, I like stewards are just so good at outranging just anything in this game. I want to try to do that. I want to try to stay as far back as I can against the breakers, see if I can outrange them. You ready to go?
yeah, let's see how that played out.
All right. You sacrificing a deceiver, not doing my inactivity damage play.
Yeah,
You have
like
no
I didn't
guts.
like that inactivity. That's so I thought like, well, I'm gonna do the not give you the mind witch, but I don't want to take inactivity. So then you started well there, just getting your units aligned for the range battle. And I thought, you know what? I think I'll do this, and then I can copy it, and that way I can get rid of a full steward with this. Actually, I can actually steal it there. And try to get the attack on the sage. So this way, God, like yeah, that would be a 3 health. So a great steward to
Oh
steal.
snap!
So in there, I planted that back gate there as I started the game with 2 gates. At the end, I ended up regretting that because now with that airy gate there, like you could still just reach me with any melee unit, and then it was just really like blocking my movement, making it just harder to move. So in like future matches, I would rather just discard the extra gate and just keep those 2 initial gates that way. So you managed to get the battle song there in that situation in which the mind witch couldn't copy it. So that was like a good move there. I was like, oh boy, well now I cannot really clog it unless I do this, and then I use the wind mage. So I try to clear the lanes in which you can do some damage there with a range game.
Yep, and you'll note here, well, I'm gonna say I haven't drawn any stewards, but even if I did draw a steward, there's not really a great response here. Like, I really like that deceiver play, where just like the deceiver one spot in front and like over my gate. You like spoilers, you're gonna see that a lot of just like the deceiver, like the spot in front of my gate, because like it's just like, what am I gonna do? Advance with Ava to like get worthy dice on it? Like no, like I kind of just want to like hit it with melee units. So yeah, it's a nice play.
Yeah. And if they're not planting forward gates, like in there, my deceiver is like at risk, like for one turn, just trying to run to the gate. But with Ava being a bit far back, I was like, well, I mean, I guess the focus is on the side of the field. While I do this, I'm going to start sending a deceiver on the other side of the field. The thing with the Avens is that they usually have to be close to Ava to be like have all that versatility, that mobility. So it's hard for them to be like, if they switch to one side to the other, they usually want to move as a group, right? Not leave like some units alone on the other side being less relevant. So you went there for that deceiver trying to take it down.
Yep, did not pay off at all.
Well, you were able to use your +1 event again, so that was a good use of it. You got the kill on the
Yep,
witch.
and notably, there's no way that a Mind Witch can copy either of these. That's why I felt safe doing that.
Yeah, so in here, it didn't really look like such a bad approach so far, right? Like I was actually having a bit of trouble there with that eerie gate. Makes it so in such a way that I cannot just like take control of that ranged side. So I ended up having to even attack with her and got lucky. I had a good roll there.
Yeah, so I still haven't drawn a steward, so I mean, I guess this pretty weird showcase of the ranged game here, but I mean, we're staying on my side at least, and I know that I have 4 stewards left here, so like only got upwards to go, and I feel like I'm still trading pretty well with your units. I mean, we're kind of even, but I have like 4 stewards in the tank, so I'm feeling pretty all right here.
Yeah, and in there you'll notice with Takulu, I was not able to just go 2 back to get outside of the range of the Sentinel, but I didn't want to get stuck on that side of the field, so I wanted to go back to my 10 gate. I had to bring her forward to do some attacks because my hand didn't have like enough game to be able to just play without her. But
Yeah.
now that I have drawn my units, I just want to get her out of trouble. So I had to pay a price there. Like you had the gathering song. I thought like if you send stuff to punish me, then I'm just gonna like be able to at least kill those units. So this was like the worst combination there. Like you were able to punish me and not even have to spend the units. Like punish me for 4 and then bring them back.
Yep, and Takulu at 7 makes a big difference.
Yeah, exactly. At that point, like that hit for 4, that's a hard hit there. So in there, well, I brought the game back to the only forward gate that I could start establishing the column to not give you any shooting lanes on the sides, and then still be doing the deceiver hogging. That's what I'm going to be calling. Like, why don't you just send it to front unit? So you use there the call pretty well to get it out of that embrace, the sweet embrace of the deceiver. Well, the sour embrace would be really. And then getting the kill, that was a huge play there.
And yeah, I'm feeling pretty decent right now. Like this is sorry, just oh, okay, actually never mind. But yeah, this is like
no, that's so far it's working. It's working pretty well, actually. I mean, it's not like it's not possible to do it, right? Like we can see right now, this is like it's still close on the econ, but things are turning pretty well for the
and so like the interesting thing to note is stewards trade really well with with breakers units. If Ava stays at a range, like stewards trading with deceivers is just like not what you want. And so like it sort of feels like the breakers need to advance, which is what you've been doing. You've been advancing in order to like get kills, and so like and if I'm forcing you to advance, that feels like winning. If you force the breakers to advance, suddenly you can get drops on them and whatnot. But what's really interesting here is this play that you found of just like lining up behind my gate, huh? Does this play have a name or anything? I don't even know. No, the donkey stack on the gate. It's just the breakers
do, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of like what they do, like their triple attack and then just leave everything that way so that you cannot attack them back efficiently.
Yeah, and particularly sorry, real quick, but particularly behind the 10 health gate means I can't do a good steward counterattack, so that's real nice.
Exactly. Yeah, you always want to run to the gates. That's one of the things. And it's interesting on the other side that you pretty much just that eerie gate there. You took control of that side of the board. Like I thought about shooting it with an archer, but then if I miss with the archer the 3 kill, you would be getting my archer for nothing, right? And the econ game was so close that I couldn't throw the game into like a 60% chance like that. So I decided to just shift all my game from that side into the center to put pressure on the only spot. You weren't giving me any other spot because you were not planting any forward gates. So it was only the main gate where I could try to keep like the safety of my units and be trading in a way that was like beneficial to me.
Yeah. All right.
So, well, oh, this was interesting. Lifford.
Yeah, let's not talk about this play. It's nice to kill the deceiver. It's a lot of magic that I've put into this 7 health unit. It would be a shame if something happened to it.
Yeah, the Kalal is coming. So this is the
And
issue
there
with
it is.
trying to beat them in the range game. Like they have Kalal for a range game. So
Yeah.
she came here like 7 range dice, which didn't go great, but it didn't go bad either. I mean, now he's within the range of like a single attack, and he has a lovely deceiver hogging him.
Yeah.
So that's an extra damage there.
Yeah, and so maybe just note here, like before it seemed like at least avians are doing fine. Like I was saying, like stewards, they trade well, but breakers have this counter of stacking up behind your gate. So, but like we were pretty like we were pretty like neck and neck in term neck and neck, all things considered, with just Ava just sort of sitting back and hopefully getting the steward plays. But all of a sudden, Kalal coming down and like, just, I don't know, just, I look at this board, I look at my hand, I look at the cards, and I just get the instinctual, like, gut wrench of, ooh, I'm losing if I stay back here. Of
Yeah.
just just, I cannot compete with 4 range dice pushing a blocker in front of her every turn. Stewards are good, but they're not that good.
Exactly. That's the issue, right? Like you can't really like they'll be able to do multiple attacks that way, and the steward won't be like to get even in range of shooting them, you have to put them into those positions around the third row or in front of your gate. That means you need a sage on the side, you need Ava on the other side. So it really makes it really hard that way. So and the thing here with the resource, it's interesting how during the game we were exactly tied, like in hand magic, like magic units on the board, like the amount that they had during the whole thing until this point in which you spend your 5 for your champ. I spent 7 for my champ, but you were not able to put like leave him in a protected spot. So I was able to eat him up easily. And then in here, I was just finishing him off and then using Kalal in a safe way just to remove good targets, right? Forcing you to have to do this, have to expose yourself to be able to even get an attack, and then the range is just going to benefit me. They just have like a better range game there. Attacking for 4 like that, pretty rough, and then I'm able to do those things in which I'm sacrificing 1 attack, but I'm keeping her safe and forcing you to get into an uncomfortable spot to have to attack so that I can keep doing it over and over. And this one was huge here. Like I didn't get the sage, but you didn't get the witch, and then the witch can just do it again, which is even more devastating. So in here I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go for the like 1 turn kill, like 8 dice on the steward. That's like the odds are like 80% or 70, something like 75 or 80 or more. So I was like, yeah, worth it. Like those stewards, if you only get 1 attack out of them, it really stings. So I was willing to risk the archer to protect Kalal, because just to come at him, like you needed to then expose another unit that I could try to finish up. So I mean, here we were still like you were not that far ahead, but I was able to even things out, right? Like I was falling behind on the because your units were bigger, but I was able to do this stuff. So in here, let's go back to great
Hit all your
shot there.
dice.
Yeah, and then this was like an 80% or something to kill
When
a
breakers
dude,
hit their
and then
dice is devastating.
and look at that, using an archer as a shield. At this point, all my deceivers were dead, right? Like I was out of deceivers, I was even out of. So this was interesting. At this point, you just had to go forward, and this was like a good play, like because I was hoping to only lose the archer, right? But then you going forward allowed you to do like get both of them. And I only had 2 cards in hand. I had a full health Kalal, but only 2. So Takulu needed to get closer. I wanted to try to finish off. I needed to finish off one of them. Maybe the other, I was not going to be able to do it, the most likely. So yeah, that was expected. But as long as I killed one of the stewards, the game was still within range of the breakers because Kalal was at full health. This was a big moment here, I think. So Kalal taking 3, which was just unavoidable. But then Sky Assault, you found a use for it. Like you needed to get rid of her and get the other 3. So now Kalal is one shot away of dying. But Kulu gets into the mix now.
Yeah, and this is where every hit point on Takulu can just be so much, just because of mind capture. Really take the late game. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
So in here, do you think like if you went for Takulu, no, like I think going for
You have too many. I mean, it's
the
possible.
right idea, like because think about like what. Yeah, I guess. Like if you went back and just attacked Takulu, I could have just sent Takulu back and then just start using my other units to go
I
to
mean,
like attack with Kalal and then put the Wind Mage in front of him, so you cannot kill Kalal that turn. So things like if you back down, then you're just falling into what they want, where they want to be, right? In that range game and multiple attacks on the same play.
yeah. I mean, it's a little bit of like a tough puzzle because like when the odds are against you, which is the worst poison? It's like maybe just like hoping you miss all your dice for the next like 3 turns while I just like kill Takulu. Like maybe that's better than what I did. I don't know, but it's not great odds either way. Kalal has taken this.
This turned out well. In this game turned out pretty well. Like you had 75% chance of getting that kill, and then this one was not on your favor, but you get the kill. So now the game is not that like easy for me, right? Like my last card was that archer, and I went like, well, you know what? Let's try to at least take another of his units. Like if it's only Ava on the board, then it might not be like that hard. So
That's
getting
true.
that
This
4
is
there.
yeah. Wow. No, it is kind of close. Like if you just done like 0 damage with that attack, and then I kill them archer next turn. No, yeah, I
like
called
if
it
I
too
only
soon
dealt,
here.
let's say something more typical, like 2 damage, right? Like if I only
Yeah.
dealt 2 damage and didn't get the sage, let's say that I don't capture the sage, then you can put you can kill the archer and then just hit me to go to 5 or something like that. Like at the end when it's so close, the luck of the roll can just turn the game around at the end to whoever gets those hits, right? And when you miss that kill on the archer, I think that's where it was over.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that was it. As you saw, like it's. I don't think there might be any faction that can outrange the breakers, which would be weird if any could, because that's the theme of the breakers.
Watered has it in chat. Deepwood Groaks, and I think I agree.
Oh yeah, because of the Seers. Technically, yeah, like it's a horrible matchup.
It's
for
an
the breaker.
awful matchup. It's like I never want to play that matchup.
Yeah. I mean, you can call the series the coward's ranged game, attacking from behind the gate. Yeah, I guess it's range game, but it's it's a strange. It is, of
Hyles
course,
can do it too,
range.
right? Hyles can beat the range game too, can't they? Like,
oh well, yeah, because of the shields, so they can turtle up, and yeah, technically they can. It's not because they're doing a better range game; it's just because of the defensive nature of the range game.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right? So that's true. But in this case, this was it was a great game at the end, like very grindy matchups that go all the way to the econ, like, very likely. And it showed because Avens do have one of the best range games in the game. I do think that like they have a very solid one.
Yeah.
But yeah, they cannot really take on the breakers that way, just relying on that.
Yeah.
They have to do a mix of both.
Yeah, it's definitely worth keeping in mind. Yeah, and so as some closing thoughts for like the different approaches that the avians can take. It's like I mean you saw things were staying like fairly even for a while there. So it's not like it's in it like if you it's not like it's an approach you can't take at least for some time or something. Like just sitting back for a bit and maybe forcing Takuli to expose some units, and then maybe after that you start taking the midfield. Like the the avians really have a lot just total control over where the battle takes place, and breakers have to adapt to that. That's not totally true. Like you can all like breakers can always just like be like, nope, I'm over here now instead or something. um but yeah, and so also closing thoughts on just like on the positions of this matchup and like what the dynamic is. You said something that I'll parrot, and then you can like actually say it better. But like there can be a lot of variance game to game of what the dynamic is. Like we can, and in a lot of these showcases, like the matchup dynamic is a lot is a lot simpler. But ooh, uh, losing my train of thought. Oh, no. So, but even then, when the matchup's a lot simpler, I think you said like just sometimes it like something weird will happen. Like the opponent will go for like a very unique strategy, or like certain cards will fall in certain ways, and so like it's important to still adapt to that. And so not necessarily like what we say is like, oh, this is where you want to be, this is what you want to do with this faction and whatnot. It's still like even if that's the case, maybe there'll be a certain circumstance or a certain opponent that'll do something different, and that means means you have to do it as well. Like you pointed out some weird games you saw with the polar dwarves and phoenix elves. I don't know if you wanted to.
Hmm. Exactly. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I think that's a good place to close out. So yeah.
yeah, sounds good. So yeah, I don't know. So I guess avians go to the midfield. There you go. We solved the matchup. Yeah, but I mean, far
Yeah.
far from it. This one's wild. There's a lot that can happen, but I mean, hopefully that's at least talk somewhat about what happens with the different dynamics. And it seems like the most consistent spot for Ava to go is sort of just steadily in the midfield. That's probably what you'll see in most
Exactly. Yeah, the
games.
midfield, but keeping it to your side, right? Because once you get into their own space,
Yeah,
it's easier to get clogged down and trapped or get assassinated. So they do want to play it carefully. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, excellent.
All
Any
right.
any any last thoughts?
That's it, man. Got a drop. Thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see each other next week for the
Y-
last match of
Yep.
this season.
Grand finale. We're tied up. We'll see who takes it.
Exactly.
All
Yeah.
right. I'll catch you later.
All right. See you later. Bye.
Bye. And let me pull that up real quick. Final match of the season: Obsidian Dwarves versus Eternal Council. I need to think about that one. Is this one that I need to practice for? I know that like what's gonna happen there. Well, I'll think about it. That's gotta be a wild match. That's gotta be a lot of fun. So yeah, so tune in next week to watch the conclusion of season 22. Yeah.